We got one more thing for you. We're doing this thing, a series called What If. It's basically, this thing happened, but what if it didn't happen? So for you it is, what if Minnesota had taken you? Pick before.
Ooh.
Curry into the lane. Curry scores. It counts. And the foul. And that is 14,000 for his career.
And it's interesting that this team, the Timberwolves, passed up on Curry a couple of times in his draft.
In the 2009 NBA draft, the Timberwolves had both the 5th and 6th picks. It was a chance for new general manager David Kahn to make his mark on a Minnesota team that hadn't reached the playoffs in 5 years.
With the 5th pick in the 2009 NBA draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves select Ricky Rubio of El Masnou, Spain, and Juventud Badalona.
Everybody knew that Minnesota was going to take Ricky Rubio 5. They had made no secret of that. That was the guy they wanted to take, and they were going to take him if he was available.
The selection of Ricky Rubio was a no-brainer. The talent that you saw on display as this young kid was playing in Spain and playing professionally and getting beat around, that he was going to have the potential in the NBA to be a great leader and be a great point guard.
So at 6, okay, they have their point guard. So you're thinking, I suppose they could take Curry if you think he can be a 2 guard. So nobody thought they would take another point guard at 6.
With the 6th pick in the 2009 NBA draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves select Johnny Flynn from Syracuse University.
Well, at that time, I was surprised that they drafted another pointer. But I think David Kent, who was the GM, wanted to play with 2 pointers at the same time, and that's what I was told.
That's why Johnny Flynn was a shocker to everybody, because it was like, but you just took a point guard. Now you're taking another point guard to pick later? So that didn't make any sense.
Steph Curry would be a great compliment because of his shooting skill to one Ricky Rubio. And instead, David Stern walked to the podium, and with the pick in at number 6, and the selection by David Kahn, the general manager, Johnny Flynn's name was called and not Steph Curry.
With the 7th pick in the 2009 NBA draft, the Golden State Warriors select Stephen Curry from Davidson College.
There were questions about his physical size. There were questions about him actually making that change over to a true point guard position. You know, he had a propensity to turn the basketball over, so there were some questions.
One thing he didn't question, though, was his ability to make jump shots. And the other thing I don't think anybody probably knew about or didn't know enough about was how dedicated he was to improving his game.
It's a dream come true for me, you know, being around the NBA, watching my dad play, and now it's my turn.
I was, I guess, unfortunate to play against Steph my 1 year at UCLA Davidson. We played them in the John Wooden Classic in Anaheim, and Russell Westbrook guarded him for the whole game. And I remember thinking, wow, this kid is as good as advertised, maybe better.
Larry Riley at the time was the general manager of the Golden State Warriors. And I had a conversation with Larry Riley the night before the draft. Of all the general managers in the NBA, he was the only one who was sure that this was a point guard that was going to have great longevity in the NBA and become a very, very good player.
Larry Riley is the guy that got Steph Curry to Golden State. He was the guy that believed in Steph Curry and wanted to take him and resisted the urge to make the deal that everybody else wanted to make, which was to send that pick to Phoenix for Amari Stoudemire for a quick fix.
Taking the long view required patience, and Curry's arrival in Oakland meant delayed gratification for Golden State fans. Steph missed 66 games over his first 3 seasons, during which the Dubs were a combined 60 games under 500.
The interesting thing with Steph was, if you remember, in year 3, he had a lot of injuries with his ankles and then he ended up playing just 23 games in that season. So there were a lot of question marks even in Golden State about what was the potential of Steph Curry and what they were going to do with him.
He really struggled during his early years, both in his play and with his injuries to his foot. And after getting that corrected, he came back, was able to play injury-free, and then his work ethic, his skill began to take over, you know, on to greatness.
Curry began answering those questions in his 4th year, when he broke the NBA record for three-pointers in a season and led the Warriors to the playoffs for the first time in 6 years. Meanwhile, Minnesota's selection one spot ahead of Curry in 2009, the injury-plagued Johnny Flynn was already out of the league.
I was able to coach Johnny in Houston for a while, and, you know, Johnny was hurt at that time. He had a real severe hip injury. He never came back from that, and I don't think anybody understood at the time how badly he was hurt and how much it really affected his gait, how much it affected his quickness, his explosiveness. All the things that made Johnny Flynn a good player really kind of ended with that hip injury.
And the dream season is now complete. The Golden State Warriors are the 2015 NBA champions.
The Warriors' historic success the last 4 seasons can be traced directly to draft night 2009, when Golden State grabbed Curry with that 7th pick. But what if the Timberwolves had taken Steph instead of Flynn with the 6th selection?
If the Minnesota Timberwolves had not passed on Steph, you'd be looking at a completely different team. There probably is no Kevin Durant. There probably is no Andre Iguodala, who came here because he saw a young core and was like, man, I like those guys and it would be fun to play with them.
Almost like a generational talent. He does things differently. You know, he does it in different ways than, say, LeBron James does. But, you know, it's tough to say. He means so much to that team, and, yeah, I don't know if the Warriors would be the same.
I always have supreme confidence in myself that with the opportunity I would have had, regardless if it was in Minnesota or here, that I could have done something with it.
Yeah.
Obviously, it would have been a little bit colder. My wardrobe may have changed a little bit.
You probably don't have Klay Thompson because the year you draft Klay, you're probably further up in the lottery. And if you're even further up, then the basketball minds didn't think Klay was good enough to go that high. So then you don't have Klay Thompson.
Obviously, there'd be no Splash Brothers. Passed on me, too. Don't forget about that. And what else? He'd be raining threes in the frozen tundra, that's for sure.
If Minnesota takes Steph Curry, chances are he still becomes a great shooter, but there's no Splash Brothers. There's no transformational change in the NBA.
Obviously, I don't think we'd be hanging 2 banners. I wouldn't have, you know, those MVP trophies for the franchise and for Steph. Now, he might have them, but not the Warriors. There would not be as many number 30s inspired around the Bay Area, all California.
You're probably a couple championships short, even one more finals appearance short, possibly still in the lottery, which is not a good thing.
And what about Minnesota? The Timberwolves are still trying to end the playoff drought that was 5 years old when they picked Flynn in 2009. What if the Wolves had Team Curry with Kevin Love and Ricky Rubio?
It could possibly look a lot like the Golden State Warriors look now. And, you know, we all make mistakes in life. We all have some regrets in life. Most people do. That's probably one regret and mistake that they've made. It could possibly look very similar to what this looks like.
He means so much to this league and so much to that team that, you know, I wish he would have been on the Timberwolves. But, you know, I had a guy in Ricky Rubio that found me, gave me the ball. He's playing at an extremely high level this year, so it's tough to say.
Playing with Ricky, that would have been interesting because I've played on the ball, off the ball, and obviously he's a wizard with his passing and his court vision.
I think I could get him more open shots, but he doesn't need that much. You don't need a lot of space.
We had to figure out how to defend you know, those bigger guards on the wings, but I think offensively we'd have been solid. Either one of us grabbing the rebound and pushing it. Hopefully he'd look for me for a bunch of assists because I'd be able to knock down some shots.
We're talking about 2 All-Stars. Kevin Love and Steph Curry are 2 All-Stars. Had a great career in NBA. Probably the 3 of us will still in Minnesota.
You'd still be in a very cold Minnesota.
Yes, maybe. Maybe. I mean, hypothetically speaking, sure.
Now you're talking about a Ricky Rubio who's always looking to get everyone involved at all times. Steph flying around the court, shooting the ball from everywhere like he does anyway. And Kevin Love, who we know can shoot the ball very well, can score the ball very well. You start filling in pieces around that, and you may have a pretty good squad. So I think it's quite the mistake.
If you were to ask me the 3 things about Love, Rubio, and Steph Curry. I say they're all smart. That might be the first thing I say about all three of them. They all have a good basketball IQ. So, yeah, that could have been something special. You know, I'm sure the people in Minnesota wish they were looking at that right now.
The what-if game is quite fascinating. I'm glad that it's not what if, it's what is. And that's the Golden State Warriors with Steph Curry leading the way.